Here's what may happen if you allow an emotion to develop fully during your first reading. If you become infused with sadness, you're having the experience before you start acting. Then when you work in class, the experience. Memorizing and not knowing 93 has changed. It is weaker or has vanished altogether. If you read comic material and laugh, it dissipates your potential acting experience. In both situations, stop reading until the emotions dissipate. Then finish reading. It is exciting to read a script that engenders feelings. But protect the creative process by curtailing your emotions before your performance. When you are acting, disregard all your previous feelings so you can experience the dialogue as if for the first time. Repeating an emotional experience. The craft of being a stage actor is learning how to repeat experiences night after night while remaining fresh and spontaneous. In film acting, it is necessary to give a good performance only once. On film, the scene becomes permanent. The director may shoot additional takes, but the good directors do not want repetition, they expect something different and hope for something better. In editing, the director and the editor choose the performance the audience will see in the completed film. Experience every moment for the first time. Your emotion can even go in a different direction. You might cry on take 1, cry and laugh on take 2, cry and get angry on take 3. This diversity gives the director and editor choices. Even when you are overwhelmed by an emotion such as sadness, the good director expects additional takes of your scene to vary. If you repeat each experience exactly the same way, the director and the audience see that your performance is being controlled by you instead of being controlled, as it should be, by both the situation and the other actors. In Waking Ned Devine, the actors are trying to manipulate the dead man's face into a smile when his false teeth fall out and drop onto the bed. Both actors respond with unplanned laughter. Whether the teeth falling out was planned or unplanned, it could have been either, doesn't make any difference. We see their reaction. Both actors deal with the situation brilliantly. It becomes a true and spontaneous moment. Discover facts by concentrating on the other actor. As you play the scene, your job is to discover what the facts of the script mean by concentrating on your partner, the intonations of her voice, and her physical and emotional experiences. This is the art of concentration. When you discover the facts from your partner, you will then be relating and in the moment, and you will give a good performance. 94 More on the art of not knowing. An emotion can become an idea. Marcia, a good actress, is doing an emotional scene, written by Barbara Bowen, with Daniel, who plays her husband. Daniel. I'm sorry, I was putting the pictures away. I was being cagey. I thought it would be best. Marcia, looking at a picture of her daughter. Marcia. I tried to forget that day would ever come. I had to stay sane. I packed your bag whenever your daddy came to town. But this little clause in our divorce decree was waiting like a time bomb. Then your first tooth fell out. I should have seen the handwriting on the wall, but I didn't. I wasn't looking. I couldn't bear to, even when your daddy called to remind you. Your birthday was coming, apparently. The magic legal age, to be put on a plane, 2 hours to Daddy's new house. You got all excited. Then we had to shop for books and games to entertain you. I had to answer 1,000 questions about your very first flight on an airplane. I should go with you, just in case you need your mommy, if you're scared or get sick or someone misplaces you. Like a piece of luggage. I can only pray that you will be all right. And that judges will have to take mommy classes so they will understand someday. You waved goodbye and I smiled back and you disappeared down the ramp. I didn't discover facts by concentrating on the other actor. 95. Want to upset you. That's why I held my tears for almost a month and why I cried all the way home. It is obvious to me that Marsha has obligated herself to the emotional content of the scene. She is feeling sad but isn't experiencing her tears. Her idea is stifling her believability. Jeremiah, Marsha, this material is very leading, and instead of being open to an experience, you are anticipating tears. Marsha. To Jeremiah. When I read it the first time, I started crying. Then I get in front of the class and the experience goes away. Jeremiah, your expecting to cry turns into an idea, not an experience. I want you to do the last page again. This time I want you to laugh. I ask her to laugh in contradiction to the experience she thinks should happen because I want her to separate the logic of the idea from her actual experience. She and Daniel do the scene again, forcing laughter through the entire scene. Jeremiah, now do the scene from the top. Marsha starts out smiling. Her concentration is on Daniel, who is still laughing while saying his next line. Suddenly, she breaks down and cries. It becomes an honest performance. Keep your emotional responses from becoming ideas. Say you are doing a scene in a film. You have an experience and cry on the first take. The director customarily shoots scenes more than once. Don't expect to cry on every take. When you think, I hope it happens, it's close. I can feel the tears. You lose contact with the other actor and become self-absorbed. When tears or any emotion become more important than the other actor, the emotion becomes an idea, not an experience, and it looks fake on film. 96. More on the art of not knowing. Judgments ruin your acting. A judgment is a comment, spoken or unspoken, about yourself, the script, or other actors. When you first read a script, a light bulb may go on. You like or don't like the dialogue. The words suggest an image, a situation, an emphasis. Anything you think, no matter how small, is an idea and a mental comment. You can't completely avoid commenting, but you can reduce its effect on your performance. Acknowledge your comments, accept them, and let them pass. If you try to block them, they will only grow in importance. Don't indulge in self-criticism. Wanting to be brilliant creates demands. Concentrate on the work, not the results. Be content that you are doing your best, and don't be swayed by internal or external opinions. Stop considering your acting as good or bad. Is the glass half empty or half full? Remember, you decide how to look at the glass. Lose the concepts of good and bad, right and wrong. A genuine experience. Anna, a student who had never acted before, was doing a scene with Fred, one of my experienced actors. She started off not looking at him. I had her focus her concentration on Fred, and I told her to forget about anything she thought she should do. Anna's performance immediately improved. The scene was written by Barbara Bowen. Anna, I want you to be responsible and get a steady job. Fred, I can make more money working 2 days than if I worked in an office all week. Anna, we're always broke, we have no savings, and I don't see a future living with you. Fred, you'd do okay, we have enough to eat, and I always pay the rent on time. What are you so worried about? A genuine experience. 97. Anna. I'm pregnant. Fred. Really? Wow. If you want to have the baby, I'll support you in every way. Fred starts to cry. Fred. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I don't want you to worry about a thing. Anna. Do you mean it? Fred. Yes. I love you. Anna starts to cry. Real tears. Jeremiah, great. To class, how could Anna turn in a creative performance like that without knowing anything about how to act? First, she had no idea that she would have an experience in the scene, not knowing. Second, she concentrated on and related to Fred. The other thing she did was accept him and the imaginary situation of being pregnant. And she accepted Fred's response. When he cried, which surprised and overwhelmed her, she responded to his emotion, which is giving and receiving. Through not knowing, she had a genuine experience. Summary. 1. Practice the art of not knowing. Use the beginner's mind to minimize all ideas from the script and personal ideas such as opinions, beliefs, generalizations or stereotyping, and judgments. Respond to the unexpected. 2. Before performance. A. Read the script once only. Absorb and forget. B. Do not comment on the script. C. Memorize the script by rote without having ideas or emotional experiences. D. Place no demands on your performance. Do not judge it as good or bad. 98. More on the art of not knowing. E. Don't let your emotions become ideas. F. Place your concentration on your partner. G. Look on every moment as if it were your last. Jeopardy! Actor practice. We generally assume that by knowing the name of an object, we know that object. But knowing a name is not enough, because we only know something through actual experience. Not knowing means experiencing all the many aspects of something with an open mind free of preconceptions. 1. Put 4 drinking glasses on a table. While you are out of the room, have a friend pour a different brand of cola soft drink in each glass. Then come back in the room and, by tasting, try to identify the brand of cola in each glass. You are now in a state of not knowing. There are no labels, just cola. What does each glass have in common? Use all your senses: taste, smell, feel, hearing. Are the bubbles different? Stickiness? Viscosity? What are the differences? Make your decisions based on your experience of each drink. Add a little jeopardy by knowing that you are to be executed at dawn if you do not identify the drinks correctly. 2. Fill a glass with water from the kitchen sink. Look at it. Is it clear or cloudy? Does it have anything in it like dirt, particles, or bubbles? Is it warm or cold? Does it smell? How does it taste? It seems that only when water has a strange taste do we notice it. Now take a mouthful and move it around with your tongue. Is it wet? What is wet? A symbol. Meaning what? Not dry? What is dry? Language conveniently keeps us from discovering the experience. Now you're experiencing the water, not just drinking it. Become aware of water. In our fast-paced society we absorb with little or no experiencing. We need to slow down, stop, and start discovering the essence of everything. The art of not knowing means to discover by using all your senses: taste, smell, touch, hearing, and seeing. It also means rediscovering and re-experiencing everything, not as an intellectual exercise, but as a reawakening of your senses to the magic of this world. That's what great actors do. 3. Get videotapes of the films I have referred to. not only in this chapter, but in the whole book, and view them, especially the scenes I discuss. Actor Practice 99. 8. Still more on the art of not knowing. Directing is about seeing 20 moves ahead while you're working on the next 5. Steven Spielberg. The director's ideas. The director is the storyteller who sees the past, present, and future. He has probably read hundreds of stories and scripts to find a worthwhile screenplay to turn into a film. He has spent months, sometimes years, studying the script. He is responsible for conceiving the images, getting them on film, and giving himself and the editor sufficient coverage to put together a good movie. He is responsible for the overall look of the film, and with his camera and his actors he creates the pieces that make up the whole movie. There is more to acting than just learning your lines by rote and then walking onto the set and working from the emotions of others. Acting a role as if for the first time and relating to the other actors does not mean that it's okay to go into a scene with nothing. Both your conscious and subconscious minds need information to feed your intuition. You can't exclude ideas from the creation of art, but the director, not you, directly handles the ideas and logic of the scene. By figuring out what the actors would logically be doing in these particular circumstances, then he figures out how to add interest, or drama. Before shooting starts, you and the director have talked about and understood the characters, the given circumstances, and the goal of the story. You have rehearsed camera positions and movement. During shooting, your job is to go through the actions the director wants you to do, to deal directly with the other actors, and to let yourself experience whatever feelings come to you. My goal is to teach you to learn to relate in the present to the other actors, to practice the art of relating, to rely on your intuition, and to forego the left brain stuff that actors often mistake for acting. But there is left brain stuff to do, like 100. Memorizing lines, knowing the director's intentions, knowing who your character is and who the other characters are, and knowing all the given circumstances. Listen to and absorb what the director wants, because he hired you to communicate his vision, ideas and the actors. Certain roles require more left brain work than others. I am sure that Marlon Brando, Jon Voight, and Tom Cruise all studied the lives and problems of paraplegics who must spend their days in wheelchairs when they prepared, respectively, for the films Men, Coming Home, and Born on the 4th of July. Anne Bancroft studied the ways of nuns and the Church for Agnes of God. Gene Hackman had to have studied the mores of 19th century farmers and marital expectations for his role in Zandy's Bride. In these films, and in all the motion pictures we respect, actors have to learn beforehand what the director wants, what their characters want, and how real people function in whatever culture the characters are supposed to be living in. Performance occurs when the camera rolls and each actor does what the director asks him or her to do, while at the same time being motivated by the actions and feelings of the other actors. Pre-production. Much of a movie's production time may be spent on pre-production. The director of photography, the assistant director, the camera operator, the production sound engineer, the script supervisor, and the crew are all responsible to the director, who is the problem solver. The producer controls the business, leaving the aesthetics, we hope, up to the director, who selects the locations and has the final say on costumes, sets, props, and most of the casting. He participates in budgeting and scheduling, on-set and costume design, and makes the final decisions on locations, sets, script rewriting, and the hiring of key people. After a long while, he casts the actors. As one producer put it, the actor is the last hair on the dog's ass. Remember that the time you spend on a movie as an actor is short compared to the time it takes the director just to be ready to start making the movie. The director's vision. The director wants, among other things, to create scenes and performances that are interesting and moving. In Chapter 1, The Exercise, I referred to lines like "I love you" and "you son of a bitch" as lines that can easily become acted cliches because they're strong. The director's vision. 101. Dialogue can denote a specific emotion: sadness, happiness, anger, fear, love. On "I love you," actors tend to act what they think is loving and sincere. On "You son of a bitch," they pretend to be angry and shout. Don't get caught in that trap. But if sincerity, anger, and love come from genuine feelings, your actions, though apparently incongruous, will be honest and believable. The point is this: to avoid being mediocre or worse, react only from real feelings, not solely from what is expected, or from what has worked for you in the past, or what you have seen other actors do. Let us see how a director might guide an actor into going beyond the expected. In my advanced workshop, we worked on the following scene, which depicts a moment where the boss tells an employee that he is fired. There is nothing that is apparently exciting about this scene. The two actors are experienced and able to work with a director's adjustments. INT. Advertising agency. The boss's office, night. The boss and Matt are sitting on opposite sides of the desk. Boss. This came from upstairs. Boss hands Matt a letter. Boss. I have to let you go. Matt is at first shocked, then indignant. Matt. Because of the Thornton account, isn't it? Matt stands up to leave. Boss. Probably had something to do with it. A very generous offer. 6 months severance. And medical until you get settled. Plus. Matt walks to the door. He turns. He is controlled. He speaks with accusatory anger. 102. Still more on the art of not knowing. Matt. How can you sleep at night? Jeremiah, to the workshop, what emotion do you think Matt was feeling? Jenny. To Jeremiah. He's angry. Jeremiah, that's one. Another? Lou. To Jeremiah. I think he might be sad or afraid. Jeremiah, you're being creative. What else was he feeling? Jenny. To Jeremiah. At first, he looked kind of stunned. Lou. To Jeremiah. I think his last line is angry. How can you sleep at night? Jeremiah. Yeah, he was first stunned. Then he got indignant, and then angry. He did all right, they both did all right, we believed them. But their performances and the scene were not very interesting. How do we make it interesting? What if he were happy at getting fired? Lou. To Jeremiah. How could he be happy? It wouldn't work for the scene. Jenny. To Jeremiah. Not after losing his job. Janie. To Jeremiah. No way. The director's vision. 103. Jeremiah, you guys are stuck with an idea, the idea that he can only feel one way. Let's play what if just for this scene. Matt, you've been wanting to quit. But you've been putting it off because if you quit, you get nothing. Today the boss has done it for you. But now, instead of nothing, you will collect severance pay and still be on a medical plan. Christina. To Jeremiah. I don't see how that could work. The dialogue implies anger. Jeremiah. Yes, it does imply anger. Most audiences and actors expect Matt to do just what he did, show shock, indignation, anger. In an audition, most actors would read the scene that way. That's what everyone expects. The same old thing. Sure, We the audience believed it, but we weren't fascinated. To the actors, try it again. Matt, the firing saves you from quitting and getting nothing. They repeat the scene, only this time Matt's performance surprises and delights us. We were expecting something like the first performance, but he fooled us. He is slightly amused when the boss tells him he's fired. He has a twinkle in his eye when he says, "How can you sleep at night?" The boss doesn't get the joke. The subtext? Matt has the last laugh, and the audience will not know how he arrived at his performance. Jeremiah, that worked great. Notice that I didn't tell Matt how to feel or how to react. I only suggested different circumstances for this scene only. He accepted those new circumstances, and his feelings determined his performance. A director's adjustment doesn't have to change the story or the given circumstances. It just gives you another element to work with. A good director, instead of telling actors precisely how to act, makes suggestions that stimulate discovering the experience for themselves and coming up with, the director hopes, something completely different and fascinating. In this scene, I gave Matt a suggestion that everyone could hear because it was a teaching situation, but in actual production, the director talks to actors privately. Good actors create their own adjustments that lead to interesting, unpredictable performances. Try it. Don't wait for the director. Think up your own as if circumstances and see where they take you, especially when you relate to the other actor. 104 Still more on the art of not knowing. Charles. To Jeremiah. Doesn't casting have a lot to do with it? If the boss were pushy and arrogant, the relationship would be different. Wouldn't it? Jeremiah, sure would. Any scene will be different, depending on which actors are cast and their respective states of mind. A director plans his casting so that each actor's own nature tends to carry both the scenes and the film toward fulfilling his vision. What if the boss is elderly and is Matt's mentor? How about a beautiful woman who is the boss? Or a kindly mother figure? The character of the boss determines how Matt will relate. Let's change actors and see how it goes. Jenny, you play the boss. Bruce, you play Matt. This is a cut and dried situation, the firing of an employee who will probably react with shock and anger. So how do we make it exciting, or at least more interesting? Here and elsewhere in this book, the actions in parentheses are not script directions. They are the actual actions of the actors as they perform them. Before the scene I say quietly to Jenny, "You're in love with Bruce." INT, advertising agency, night, closing time. Bruce and Jenny are sitting in her office. Jenny. This came from upstairs. Bruce glances at the letter, and in disgust tosses it back onto Jenny's desk. Jenny. I have to let you go. Bruce gets up and starts to leave. Jenny stands up, walks around the desk, and stands in front of him. She looks lovingly directly into his eyes. Bruce. It's the Thornton account. Isn't it? The director's vision 105. Jenny. Probably had something to do with it. She continues looking him in the eyes, and says her next lines with a hint of seduction in her voice. Jenny. They're making a very generous offer. 6 months severance. And medical until you get settled. Plus. Jenny touches his hair. He ignores it. Bruce. Puzzled. How can you sleep at night? Jeremiah, Bruce, I want you to do that line again. I whisper to Jenny to kiss him. Jeremiah, Bruce, pay attention to her touching you. Jenny touches his hair. Then she kisses him lovingly on the cheek. Bruce takes her in his arms and kisses her passionately. Then holds her by her shoulders at arm's length. Bruce. Mock disapproval, as if She's a naughty little girl. How can you sleep at night? He leaves the office. Jeremiah, Jenny, doing a specific physical action can change the relationship. When you kissed Bruce, he changed and finally participated in what was going on. Then, by holding you off and saying his line the way he did, he gave us something different. We expected the two of you to profess love for each other. But instead of letting it go that way, he responded to your love, but came up with something different. What each of you did made the scene unpredictable and interesting. Nice work. 106 Still more on the art of not knowing. Good actors make things happen. Good actors always find something in themselves to help make the scene exciting. In interviews and in writing, many of our best actors have said that one of their fears is that they will not be able to get in touch with whatever it is that will let them go beyond believability and come up with an exciting and unexpected performance. It takes a lot of work, but try to find something in yourself relative to the circumstances that both you and the director haven't thought of before. One advantage of film is that the director can always reshoot until he gets a scene that works. Jeremiah, Deborah, you play the wife, and Harry, you're her husband, who's coming home after being fired. Don't rehearse with each other, just memorize the dialogue. While they are memorizing, I block the camera movement with other actors. Deborah doesn't know that I told Harry that there is a pistol in the pocket of the coat in the closet. Jeremiah, you guys ready? Okay. Action. INT. Bedroom. Deborah. Harry enters the bedroom. He stumbles through the door. Slumps on the bed. He knocks an open suitcase off the bed. The workshop laughs. Jeremiah, cut. What are you doing, Harry? Harry. To Jeremiah. It says he just had a car accident. Jeremiah, but the accident wasn't that serious. You're not hurt. Start it again. Harry re-enters. His wife, Deborah, is packing her suitcase. Harry. Where are we going? Deborah says nothing, keeps packing. Harry walks to the closet, roots around, and turns around with a gun in his hand. She turns to get something out of a drawer and sees him. Good actors make things happen. 107. Deborah. Harry? Harry sticks the gun's muzzle up to his neck. Deborah stays with the scene. She takes a couple of careful steps toward him. Deborah. Give me the gun, please, Matt. Jeremiah, softly. Deborah, be careful. The gun contains blanks. If it goes off, it could seriously hurt him. Don't jerk or touch the trigger when you take the gun. Deborah. To Jeremiah. I can't. What if something happens? I hate guns. Jeremiah, Deborah, focus on the situation. You're an actress, this is your job. You can do it. Deborah approaches slowly with caution. She reaches for the gun. Her hand trembles. Deborah. Fearfully. Please, Harry. Don't do this. We can work this out. Listen to me. Stop. Think about this. Harry smiles and turns his head. Deborah's eyes fill with tears. Deborah. Crying. Why are you doing this? Jeremiah, excellent. That's a print. To the workshop, I expected her to be frightened when I told her how dangerous the situation was. But I didn't know she would cry. The tears are a bonus. Okay, do the rest of the scene. Harry takes the gun from his neck and points it at Deborah. She backs away. 108 Still more on the art of not knowing. Deborah. Frightened. Harry. Harry starts to laugh. Deborah, frightened, stares at him. She realizes that he is just playing with her. Then she becomes angry. Deborah. Angry. You're so immature. You're a spoiled little boy who always gets his way. Not this time. It's over. She continues packing her bag furiously. Jeremiah, see how a director, by controlling the situation with suggestion and through blocking the actors, can help you get honest performances. Notice I never told them how to act. I just changed the circumstances. Lou. To Jeremiah. I'm curious. Deborah cried by accident, but how would you go about making her cry if the scene called for it? Jeremiah, it's difficult. One of the things you look for in casting sessions is whether or not she can deal with the emotional stuff in the script. But your job as an actor is to learn how to come up with tears. Let's see if we can get something different. Deborah, see Harry's desperation and get him to stop. This time. You know the gun's not loaded and it can't go off. Deborah. To Jeremiah. Why didn't you tell me that in the first place? Jeremiah, I was helping you to accept the situation. To the workshop, when Deborah thought the gun was loaded, it frightened her. In the movie At Close Range, there was a scene where Sean Penn was holding a gun on Christopher Walken. Penn stepped out of the scene and said to the prop person, loud enough for Walken to hear, "Give me the loaded gun." Then he stepped back into the scene. This put Walken in a different frame of mind. He wasn't sure if the gun good actors make things happen 109 was real or blank, and that gave him more to work with. Deborah, after we're done, look at your tape and see the difference between the two takes. Deborah. To Jeremiah. I could feel the difference. Jeremiah, good. Now Deborah, try to take the gun. You love Harry. The last thing you want to see him do is commit suicide. Harry is sitting on the bed, gun in hand. Deborah. Loving. What are you doing? Jeremiah, kneel down next to him and touch him gently. Now, say it again. Deborah. Lovingly, touches his arm. What are you doing? Jeremiah, to the workshop, see the difference? See how the physical action of touching makes the scene better. Good directors, especially in emotional scenes, put the actors in physical and mental positions to evoke feeling. She is kneeling, which puts Harry in a stronger position. When she puts her hand on his arm, we can see them become intimate, and the scene becomes more real. Her loving gesture adds feeling to her line. Much of acting is simply relating. It keeps you honest, gives you a point of focus, and brings out the appropriate feeling. Directors use blocking to elicit responses. The good director knows what kinds of responses he wants in the scene, and he blocks the actors to help bring out the scene's emotional content. Deborah has no idea how the director wants her to play the line, "What are you doing?" Everything she thought, every idea she had, is now invalid because the director is having her kneel beside Harry. The honesty of her acting will depend on the circumstances and the feedback from the other actor. Successful directors know what they need and will spend the time and film to get it. In film, ideas come originally from the writer and then from the director, who has to understand each character from every point of view. He has lived with the script and its characters, and, like the writer who plays God when 110 still more on the art of not knowing writing, the director becomes omnipotent when directing. He alone is responsible for the outcome. He has figured each camera angle for the scene. He understands every aspect from costuming to special effects. He knows the purpose behind every physical and emotional change, and how each scene furthers the story. But the director does not give the performances. The actors do. I heard that when Robert Altman directed MSH, the two stars, Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland, were apparently confused about their roles and asked the studio to let them out of their contracts. They had no initial concept of the overall picture and were apprehensive that this director would hurt their careers. MSH turned out to be an artistic and commercial success. The two actors became stars. From the beginning, Robert Altman knew what he needed and brought it off by setting up circumstances that turned into great performances by both actors. A director's scene preparation. For film, performance rehearsal is often short or non-existent. This does not mean that the director has not rehearsed the scene. In pre-production, he has worked with a storyboard artist and set designer to create a believable way to capture each scene. The director discusses each scene in detail with the director of photography, and they work out how the picture is to be shot. A tremendous amount of planning and preparation has been going on for many months, and the ideas are in motion before you ever arrive on the set. The director has the overall picture, your job is one part of the whole, to communicate the director's vision to the audience. To help you do this, the director may adjust your performance as he sees fit. Ideas are secondary for the actor and primary for the director. Emotions are secondary for the director and primary for the actor. Physical movement influences emotion. In one workshop exercise, we do a scene that shows how physical movement and proximity can affect actors' emotions. The actors, Ben and Mary, are beginners who are self-conscious and a little embarrassed. I have them stand at opposite ends of the room and say the line, "I love you." Ben. Self-conscious. "I love you." Mary. Without conviction. "I love you too." A director's scene preparation 111. Jeremiah, Mary, take that bed pillow off the chair and hit Ben. It's soft. You're not going to hurt him. Ben, when she hits you, say your line. She hits him on the side of the head with the pillow. Ben. Laughs. "I love you." Mary. "I love you too." Mary also laughs. Then she turns to me and waits with a look on her face that says, "So I hit him, now what?" Jeremiah, keep doing it. Ben, every time she hits you, say your line. And Mary, say yours. That's it. Hit him harder. Keep saying your lines and mean it. She keeps hitting him. They say their lines. And she finally gives him a good rap in the face that gets him angry. He pushes the pillow away and Mary almost falls to the floor. Now she is angry. She hits him again. Ben. Angrily. "I love you." Mary. Very angry. "I love you too." She stops swinging and they both stand there breathing hard and looking at each other. Then they break out laughing and hug each other. Jeremiah, that was good. To the workshop, did we believe them? Annette. To Jeremiah. At the end. I believed them. After they got angry. Even when they said, "I love you." Especially when they were mad. 112 Still more on the art of not knowing. Bruce. To Jeremiah. Yeah. After she hit him 2 or 3 times, I believed them. Funny, how you can say you love somebody when they hit you in the face. Jeremiah, after a few hits, they forgot about us and about being self-conscious and embarrassed. It was just the two of them. They became intimate. Even though she was swinging and he was dodging. Now, Ben, walk over and hold Mary's hand and say the line. Ben takes her hand. After all their activity, they feel closer, but they now are a little awkward. Ben. Matter of fact. I love you. Mary. Unconvincingly. I love you too. Jeremiah, Mary, turn and face me. Ben, get behind her and put your arms around her waist and your head next to her head. Now say the line. Ben puts his arms around her, and we can see that they are much closer emotionally. Jeremiah, Ben, now kiss Mary's neck. Ben kisses her. Ben. I love you. Mary. Giggles. I love you too. This time we really believe they are in love. It's the same dialogue, but the physical distance and action between the actors change the subtext behind the line. As long as the two actors relate to a director's scene preparation 113 each other, they will have a different experience depending on the distance and the position. That's one reason why the director's work is so important. He determines the ideas, the blocking, and movement, often with the participation of the actors. He sets the scene so that the actors work from the circumstances and from each other's feedback, which makes them emotionally available and interesting. Importance of the art of not knowing. If ideas are so important, why must new students disregard their ideas? Most actors are result-oriented, that is, they try to act an emotion directly, instead of reacting to the other actor and letting out whatever emotion comes. Too often acting students are taught to work from the literal meaning of the script. The art of not knowing frees you from your self-imposed idea of what you should do. You may have decided from reading the script that you should be angry on a certain line. Now suppose you did not decide that, and, instead, you reacted with laughter purely from what the other actor did. That would be an honest, spontaneous act, and the scene would become more interesting and believable. You might say that laughter at that point would be against the meaning of the scene and the intent of the character. But if your laughter comes from a genuine emotional response to the other actor and the circumstances, it is appropriate even though the scene may be no laughing matter. Think of acting as steering a boat that's going down a wild river. The river is the set for the movie. The current of the river is the script, which, without your doing anything, always carries you to where it is going. An action-adventure has rapids, rocks, snags, pirates. A comedy has lots of stupid obstacles, like a leak in the boat, falling overboard, and being chased by alligators. A love story has beautiful scenery and moonlit nights along with the river's regular obstacles. The director's ideas determine the size of the boat and how it is propelled, whether by oars, sail, or motor. He decides how you are dressed, whom you are with, the route you will follow, and all the river's obstacles. Your job is to steer down the river, engaging physically and emotionally with each obstacle as you come to it. The director guides you, but you are on your own. You have to make the decisions about how to steer around those obstacles and how to deal with the feelings that come up. The director makes the choices of where you will dock, on which side of the river to proceed, which tributaries to follow, when to stop, and when to start. If you are locked into a fixed idea of how you are going to steer your course down the river, even before you have faced any obstacles, you lose your intuitive advantage. You have to deal with each sandbar, each submerged log, each snag when you came to it. If you fight the flow of the river by logically planning how you are going to deal with obstacles you have not yet faced, you may find 114 still more on the art of not knowing yourself stranded on a sandbar with no one, including the director, knowing where you are or how to rescue you. Great actors diligently study and understand their scripts. Yet in TV interviews and their personal statements, film actors like Tom Hanks and Gene Hackman tell us they learn their lines by rote and do their performances only when they are on camera. They prepare, all right, but they don't prepare their actual performances. They know that as they proceed downriver, their feelings need to be intuitive when they come to each obstacle. Steven Spielberg has said, as did Bernardo Bertolucci, Alfred Hitchcock, and other directors, That he does not rehearse his actors for performance. Great actors sometimes spend months getting ready to play a role. But understanding a script, its characters, and the given circumstances is one thing, and performing the scene is another. In my workshop and in this book, my goal is to teach you to learn how to relate and act intuitively, but I also teach that there are other things to do and know. I don't want you to think that all you have to do is get off the airplane, read a feature script once that night, and go on the set the next morning ready to give a great performance. There's more to it than that. Your on-camera performance is the end result. Good directors don't want to set limits on what you might come up with. They won't tell you how to read lines, or what to feel, but they do give you help, guidance, and support. When the camera rolls, the director expects you to bring more to the scene than merely what the script says, something great that comes from your emotional relationship with the other actors and the scene's given circumstances. That is your job. Summary. 1. The director is responsible for ideas. 2. The actor is responsible for emotions and responses. 3. Pre-production means that before the actor is even cast, the director has worked for many months on script requirements and interpretation. 4. The director uses ideas to guide actors. 5. Good actors make things happen. 6. The director uses blocking to elicit responses. 7. The director does his scene preparation. 8. Physical movement can influence emotion. 9. The art of not knowing helps your emotional responses. Actor practice. Watch the opening invasion scene of the movie Saving Private Ryan. Think of the preparation it took to capture that scene. How could you? Actor practice 115. Possibly conceive of what the director wants you to do? The situation is as close to reality as possible. The only thing missing is live ammunition. All you can do is show up on time, get into costume, climb into the landing boat, and do what the director tells you. To make your performance real, practice the art of acceptance and accept the imaginary circumstances. Here's an exercise to show how physical action and position can change the performance. 2 actors. One actor says a nondescript line such as, "I like your clothes," and the partner answers with the same line, "I like your clothes." Do this while both of you are in different physical positions. 1. One actor rolling on the floor. 2. Both actors rolling on the floor. 3. One actor sits on the other actor's lap. Then reverse positions. 4. One actor kneels and one stands. Reverse positions. 5. Both kneel. 6. The actors hold hands. 7. The actors give each other a hug. Notice how the feeling of the line changes when it is spoken during different actions or from various positions. Choose an emotionally descriptive line like "I love you," "I hate you," "You scared me," or "That is so sad." These are on-the-nose lines describing feelings. Change your physical positions and notice how the emotional meaning of the line changes. 116 Still more on the art of not knowing. 9. The art of acceptance. For Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba? That he should weep for her? What would he do? Had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general ear with horrid speech. Hamlet, Act 2, Sc. 2. Hamlet asks how an actor can cry for an imaginary character in a play when he, Hamlet, with all his motive and passion, cannot cry for his dead father. What's Hecuba to him or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? Metaphorically, great actors accept Hecuba's importance to them and convince their audiences that their emotions and the circumstances are real. Learning to accept the character and the circumstances is one of the most important steps toward great acting. Acceptance. Acceptance of the imaginary situation as if it were real allows you to be emotionally effective. Acting on film is not reality but a composite of imaginary circumstances and relationships. If someone holds a gun on you, you will have an emotional experience depending on your knowing that the gun is either loaded or unloaded. When you know the gun is loaded, your experience will be different from when you know it is unloaded. This is where you need the ability to accept the unloaded gun as if it were loaded. To put yourself mentally in that circumstance, suspend your judgment and disregard anything that is contradictory to the realness of the situation. Acting is make-believe, and your ability to accept imaginary circumstances determines the truth of your performance. This is the art of acceptance in film acting. 117. Two of my students, Bob, who is tall and easygoing, and Michelle, who has long black hair and startling blue eyes, do the following scene that forces them both to accept new circumstances. Bob. Michelle, are you all right? Michelle. I'm pregnant. Embarrassed, she laughs and puts her hands over her face. Bob's smile carries into the next line. Bob. You're sure? Those drugstore tests aren't always. She avoids making eye contact with him. Michelle. I saw a doctor. I'm sure. Bob. It's up to you. What do you want? Michelle. What about med school? Bob. Forget med school. It's your decision. Michelle. I want you to finish med school. I didn't plan this. Bob. I know. Michelle. I want the baby. I was so afraid to tell you. I love you. I don't want this to come between us. 118 The Art of Acceptance. Jeremiah. Michelle, what is Bob feeling? Michelle. To Jeremiah. He's angry. He's going to have to give up medical school because I'm pregnant. Jeremiah. Forget all that. Look at Bob's face. What is he feeling? Michelle. To Jeremiah. He has a slight smile. Jeremiah. Do you see any anger? Michelle. To Jeremiah. No. Not really. Jeremiah. Good. What else do you see? Michelle. To Jeremiah. He's loving? Jeremiah. Good. Just accept the fact that he's your husband and he loves you. Give each other a hug. They give each other a hug. Jeremiah. Now do the scene. Bob. You're sure? Those drugstore tests aren't always. Michelle. I saw a doctor. I'm sure. Bob. What do you want to do? Michelle. What about med school? Acceptance 119. Bob. His eyes fill with love. Forget med school. It's your decision. Michelle starts to cry. Michelle. I want you to finish med school. I didn't plan this. Bob gives her a hug. Bob. I know. Michelle. I want the baby. I was so afraid to tell you. I love you. I don't want this to come between us. Jeremiah. To the class, Michelle had to accept the fact that Bob loves her. She didn't accept it at first because her logic tried to tell her that a guy would be angry at delaying med school. Then her imagination took over and she accepted the situation. The concept of being pregnant became authentic and overwhelmed her. Acceptance allows her genuine feelings to be expressed within the imaginary circumstances. Play the game. Children like to play. A mother tries to feed her child who presses his lips together and refuses to open his mouth. So she raises the spoon higher and makes the sound of an airplane and zigzags the spoon in front of his face. As she approaches his mouth, the child opens and lets the spoon enter. Children are willing to accept everything as a game. It is fun. Play like a child. Children continually play games in which they accept all sorts of imaginary circumstances. I remember riding a broom and making believe it was a horse. I knew that it wasn't really a horse, but that didn't stop me. When I finished riding, I tied my imaginary horse to the banister. Children mimic adult. 120 The art of acceptance. Behavior, such as sitting in an empty box pretending it is a car. They learn through playful imitation and imagination. They suspend judgment and act as if imagined things were real. This is the key to practicing the art of acceptance. Good actors accept everything and enjoy playing the games. As we grow older, we become more socially aware and realize that riding a broom or driving an imaginary car is not something that our peers ordinarily accept. We eventually stop playing make-believe, and our outward fantasy lives come to a halt. We become more pragmatic. Our imaginative skills dwindle. We save our fantasies for our inward, private life, and we turn into a respectable member of society. If by some chance we have avoided this path to respectability, we might have the good fortune to become actors. Approach acting as a child. Stop judging the propriety of things and entice yourself into accepting the moment-to-moment reality of imaginary circumstances. In the movie Basketball Diaries, Leonardo DiCaprio turns in a brilliant performance of a drug addict who needs a fix. Lorraine Bracco is outstanding as his mother. The emotions in this scene are so intense that if they were not real to the actors, the scene would quickly turn into laughable melodrama. To be real to the audience, both actors have to accept the circumstances completely. Jim, played by DiCaprio, knocks on his mother's, Bracco, apartment door. She looks through the peephole, sees her son, then puts the chain on the door before she unlocks it. DiCaprio. Mom. Mom, are you in there? Is that you? Mom. Mom. Bracco. Yeah. Bracco stands to the side of the door so her son can't see her. It is too painful for her to look at him. DiCaprio. Hi. Hi, Mom. Hi. Listen, I need you to help me out. Alright. I need you to give me some money. He spits on the hall floor. Bracco. I can't help you. Play the game 121. DiCaprio. Okay, listen. What you got to do is give me some money, Mom. Bracco. Jim, I can't do that. DiCaprio. Why not? Mom, you know I'm not going to do a thing with it. I need to go out of town for a little while. I got in some trouble. So you got to give me some money. Mom. Will you hold my hand? Bracco. Yeah. I'll hold your hand. He reaches through the door held by the chain. And Bracco holds his hand. She looks at it. He is breaking her heart. She is in a great deal of pain. DiCaprio. Mom, can you give me some money? Mom, can you give me some money, please? Mom, please. Don't fuck around. Mom, give me some fucking money, please. What are you doing? I'm your son. Bracco. I don't have it. She tries to push the door shut. DiCaprio. Mom, don't fuck around. She shuts the door. DiCaprio. Come on, let me in the fucking door. 122 The art of acceptance. Play the game 123. He bangs on the door. DiCaprio. Oh fuck. He starts to cry. DiCaprio. Let me in. I need some money. I need some money real bad. Oh. Fuck oh. Bracco picks up the phone. Bracco. Officer, someone is breaking into my apartment. They have a knife. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a $10 bill. She is contemplating giving it to DiCaprio. DiCaprio. Oh. You don't know what you're fucking doing to me. I'm in pain. How can you do that to your son? You bitch. You fucking bitch. He pounds on the wall, screaming in pain. He cries. DiCaprio. I won't do anything. I'll be a good boy, Mom. I'll be good if you let me in. DiCaprio has accepted the fact that his character needs a fix and is in pain. To play the game, he has to start the scene in real agony. His mother, played by Bracco, knows she can't give him money because he will blow it on dope. This is a scene that has all the makings of a cornball, melodramatic stinker. He asks his mother to hold his hand. He becomes childlike. He gets angry, begs, cries, even punches the door, and curses his mother. She goes through a different flood of emotions, fear, love, and tears. His pleading almost forces her into giving him money, but when he gets angry and calls her a bitch, she changes her mind and calls the police. Actors in scenes like this often go over the top, but here the full acceptance of the circumstances by the two actors makes them both real and the scene authentic. The director Martin Ritt once said, in reference to an actor's performance that went over the top, you don't have to tone anything down that is real. Trust the roller coaster. Trust is the self-confidence to surrender control. When you get on a roller coaster, you trust that you will not be killed, but that does not stop you from being scared. In fact, you want to be scared, or you would not have gotten on in the first place. You are thrown from side to side, hung upside down, dropped several hundred feet in an instant, and every so often you experience the fear that you could be killed. In reality, you know that there is no reason to be scared, but your subconscious